They say that everything is bigger in Texas, so it's only right that one of the biggest games of the year will take place in the Lone Star State. We've got the Cotton Bowl, the college football playoff semifinal between number 8 Ohio State and number 5 Texas. Two historic programs, two teams that have fantastic quarterbacks, fantastic offenses, but only one can advance to the national championship. And we're here to tell you who that will be right now. So welcome back to the Gridiron Expert, guys. So glad you could join us today. As always, please continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos, and check out everything down in the description below. That includes our website, thegridironexpert.com, home to our expert picks, home to our holiday special, and tons of other exclusive content there for you year-round. Again, this is a channel where we talk college football 24/7, 365, so do not miss out on that. The link for everything down in the description below, and we'd love to have you as a member of our GE Nation. So I'm beyond pumped for this game. Both semifinal matchups are going to be great. We just predicted Notre Dame and Penn State, and Ohio State and Texas will know the winner of that game when they face off in Arlington on Friday night. So they will know, the winner of this game will know who they could potentially face in the national championship game. These are we talked about how historic these two programs are. Some would say blue blood programs for the Buckeyes and the Longhorns, although it's their first meeting since the 2009 Fiesta Bowl. So it's been a long time since we've seen Ohio State and Texas face off. And while the Fiesta Bowl was certainly a big deal in 2009, it pales in comparison to a game of this magnitude with a spot in the national championship on the line. How did we get here? We look at the scores of how we got here. Ohio State has been one of the best teams in the country, not just all year long, but has looked like the national title favorite over these last few weeks, destroying Tennessee, destroying Oregon in a game that we thought could be an instant classic at the Rose Bowl was over within the first few minutes, winning that game 41-21. Texas, on the other hand, got by Clemson in their opening round matchup and then barely survived Arizona State in double overtime at the Peach Bowl, a game that looked like it would be a runaway. Texas jumping out to that early, 14-point lead. It led 24-8 late in the fourth quarter before allowing the Sun Devils to mount a massive comeback and nearly winning the game. So definitely two different directions, two different ways that Ohio State and Texas have gotten to this point. But regardless, you put that in the rearview mirror, right? What we saw from Ohio State means nothing now. What we saw from Texas means nothing now. It's a completely new day, completely new game. Let's see who's going to win it. Let's start on offense. We'll start with Ohio State. It's amazing to me. After struggling, after receiving so much criticism, especially after their loss to Michigan where they only mustered 10 points, this Ohio State offense is firing on all cylinders. They've scored over 40 points in both their playoff wins, over Tennessee and over Oregon. Two of the better teams in the entire country, two teams that had very strong defenses, and Ohio State made them look like they weren't even on the field. 42-17 over Tennessee, 41-21 over Oregon. They eclipsed over 473 yards in both of those games. And look, give Will Howard his roses, man. Give him some praise. Again, the offense was getting criticized. Howard was getting heavily criticized, especially after his bad performance against Michigan. And he has answered the call, trying to lead Ohio State to a national title. He has thrown for over 300 yards in both playoff games after throwing for over 300 yards just once in the regular season. So first 12 games of the year, throws for over 300 just once. He throws for 300 in back-to-back games against strong defenses, as we mentioned, in Tennessee and Oregon. He's 41 of 55. That's a 74.5% completion percentage, 620 yards, 5 touchdowns, just 1 interception in these two playoff games. Give Jeremiah Smith his roses. Give him the credit he deserves. He's one of the best players in the entire country, not just one of the best wide receivers, one of the best of all college football players. He's responsible for 290 of those 620 yards and 4 of the 5 touchdowns that Howard has thrown. That includes a 187-yard day and 2 touchdowns against Oregon at the Rose Bowl. Again, a game that Ohio State led 34-0 at one point. The running game is doing their job, eclipsing 156 rushing yards in both of their games against the Volunteers and the Ducks. So this is an Ohio State team that is relatively balanced. This is one that's extremely explosive. This is one that I wonder, is anybody in the country capable of stopping it at this point? Here's the thing that I'm curious to see if it holds up or not. Against Tennessee and Oregon, the Buckeyes have been just so electric, so fast, and are scoring at an amazing rate. They've had 11 touchdown drives in their 2 playoff games so far this year. Only 3 of them have taken over 5 plays. One of them was a 6-play drive. One of them was a 7-play drive. One of them was a 9-play drive. So they are scoring boom, boom, boom so fast. Can Texas slow that down? Can Ohio State keep that up? And if not, will they be able to sustain longer drives? Could we see Ohio State put together a 10, 11, 12 play drive, milk a lot of time off the clock, and obviously if they're going to take a drive that long, make sure the ball gets in the end zone? If Texas defense wakes up a little bit, how does Ohio State handle that if they're not hitting on those home run plays? So that's something I'm kind of interested to see. They've looked unstoppable. They're playing extremely well. Does the explosiveness remain, or do things kind of come back down to earth and slow down a little bit for Ohio State in this game? Texas, on the other hand, look, they've got a good offense. We're not dogging the Longhorns. They've got a good offense, right? They've eclipsed 38 points in their 2 playoff games, 38-24 over Clemson, and then, of course, dropped 39 over Arizona State, winning 39-31, again, in double overtime. Quinn Ewers is a fantastic quarterback. He's a very good quarterback. He's completed over 66% of his passes in both the games against Clemson and Arizona State. 524 yards and 4 touchdowns in these last 2 games. But obviously, he's got to take better care of the football. He's got to take care of the ball. He has thrown 5 interceptions in his last 4 games. He has 4 straight games with at least 1 interception. If you turn the ball over against this Ohio State defense, I believe the Buckeyes are going to make you pay for it. So Ewers is going to have maybe the best game of his entire season in this Cotton Bowl. If Texas wants to win and go to the national championship, he has to turn in a masterclass. He's got to be hitting his receivers in stride. He's got to make sure he holds on to the football. He cannot afford really any turnovers whatsoever. He's got to be firing all cylinders. The Texas team has to be insane. But let's not put all the blame on him, right? He's got to do that. He's the quarterback of the team. He's the leader of the team. He's got to get the job done. But the Texas run game has to find a way to get back into full force. We talked about that heading into their quarterfinal game against Arizona State, how strong they've been running the ball, especially towards the end of the regular season, especially in their first round game against Clemson, where they rushed for nearly 300 yards in that game. But against Arizona State, they mustered just 53 rushing yards, 1.8 yards per carry. Their longest run of the day was 7 yards. They have to find a way to get that balance back. They have to find a way to make the running game respectable in this game. We're not saying they've got to rush for 300. I'm not even saying they've got to run for $150. But they have to get enough of the running game going to where Ohio State has to respect it. You've got to get enough of it going so that it sets up the pass, maybe sets up some big plays or some easier throws for Quinn Ewers. Because if this team becomes one-dimensional and it's solely pass, Ohio State's going to be eating that up. We saw them shut down a very strong offense in Tennessee. We saw them shut down one of the best offenses in the country in Oregon. Texas is on par, maybe you could argue, with both of them, but will it matter? They've got to find a way to get the balance back. They've got to find a way to get the run game going. If they don't get the run game going in this game against Ohio State, they don't stand a chance. That's the biggest thing there. So, taking care of the football for Quinn Ewers, establishing the run early, that's the key for Texas offensively. Defensively, look at Ohio State. Everything I just said for Texas is their recipe for success on that side of the ball, but they're going up against the best defense in the nation. Ohio State has the number 1 defense, 244.6 yards per game. That's all they're giving up this year. They are the number 1 passing defense in the country. They're giving up just 152 passing yards per game this year. They are 5th in the nation against the run, allowing just 92 rushing yards per game. They held both Tennessee and Oregon to under 280 total yards. As great as those offenses are, they held them both to under 280 yards. And the funny thing about that, Ohio State didn't force a turnover in either game. So they blew out Tennessee, they blew out Oregon. It wasn't because they were forcing all these turnovers and the offense was getting super favorable field position. They weren't scoring off of pick sixes. Their defense was just that good. They were forcing that many 3-and-outs. They were forcing that many big-time stops, that many negative plays, sacks, tackles for a loss. They have 12 sacks and 19 tackles for a loss in their 2 playoff games alone. That's how they're doing it. So imagine how bad some of these games could be. Imagine the damage Ohio State could do if they were forcing more turnovers. And again, if I'm Ohio State, I'm like, yeah, turnovers would be great, but we're winning just fine without them. So just go out there and get the stops, just like they did against the Volunteers, just like they did against the Ducks. They outgained, Ohio State did. They've outgained those 2 opponents by 441 yards combined. Outgained them by a combined 441 yards. So if I'm Ohio State in this game, continue to follow that recipe. You want to force turnovers, but if you don't, limit the run, force Quinn Ewers to do it all by himself, and if you do that, I guarantee he's going to make a mistake. You got to hope if you're Texas, he doesn't. But if Texas becomes so one-dimensional, he's going to make a mistake. He's going to stay in the pocket too long, and he's going to get sacked. He's going to stay in the pocket too long, and he's going to fumble. He's going to make an errant throw, and it's going to get picked off. He's going to make a mistake if you take away the Texas balance and if you put enough pressure on him. That's your key for the Buckeyes. For Texas, there is a concern on the Texas defensive side here, right? There is cause of concern. Will Howard is hot. We mentioned how great he's playing, completing nearly 75% of his passes these last two games, 620 yards, 5 touchdowns, 1 interception. Texas secondary has been terrible these last two games. They had the number 3 passing defense in the country all year long, 166.1 passing yards per game is all they've given up, but they haven't looked like it in these last two playoff games. They gave up, 336 to Clemson, 336 passing yards to Clemson. They gave up 296 to Arizona State. They were torched. They've been torched in the secondary in their last two games. And you could argue that Will Howard is better than Sam Levitt, that Will Howard is better than Cade Klubnik. And certainly Will Howard has better weapons than both of those teams. With Jeremiah Smith and Emeka Egbuka and guys like that, yeah, Ohio State's got much better talent, much better receivers. So if Will Howard stays as hot as he's been, Texas secondary is in a world of hurt. They've got to find a way to step up. But more than anything, if you're Texas, it's a double-edged sword here. You don't want to give up the big plays. Obviously, you're trying not to let them score. But at the same time, you've got to find a way to get off the field a little bit quicker. That defense is going to get run down, right? If you allow Ohio State to slow down the pace, and they don't want to do that, but say you do, your defense, gets to stop on first down, gets to stop on second down, but they allow a third down conversion. So it ends up being a 10, 11, 12-play drive, and your defense is out there on the field for 4 or 5 minutes at a time, and then the Texas offense goes out there, goes 3 and out, that Texas defense is going to get run down. So if you are the Texas defense, you've got to find a way to get off the field quickly. Preferably, it's not getting off the field quickly because you were just allowed a 70-yard touchdown. Limit the pace, limit the big plays from Ohio State. Find any way to force turnovers. Ohio State has turned the ball over just once in their 2 playoff games. They've got to find a way to get more pressure on Will Howard and make him uncomfortable, not allow you to sit there and pick your secondary apart. You've got to find a way to get the ball in Queen Ewer's hands as much as possible. But again, you've got to find a way to get off the field, and you can't allow it to be because of big-time explosive plays, quick touchdown drives that we've seen Ohio State do in both of their games. Again, 11 touchdown drives, only 3 have taken over 5 plays. None have taken over 9. So that's what Texas has to do if they want to win this game. So, Cotton Bowl. When this game kicks off, we will know whether it is Notre Dame or Penn State in the national championship game. They will be on the other side waiting for the winner of Ohio State and Texas. It could be Ohio State and Notre Dame, which would be a fantastic matchup. It could be Ohio State and Penn State, which was a fantastic matchup earlier in the regular season, would be an all Big Ten national championship. How about that? Wonder how the SEC feels about that if that happens. But that's besides the point. We got to see how this pans out. Texas could face Notre Dame, 2 blue blood programs there, or Texas could face Penn State, which would be electric as well. So I think it's fairly obvious here, though. I mean, the pick is Ohio State. If Texas wins, so be it. It would be a masterclass, and I think we're going to be in for a good game. I'm hoping, and I don't think it's going to be as big of a blowout as Ohio State did against Tennessee, as Ohio State did against Oregon. I think Texas can hold their own in this game, but I would be a fool to pick against Ohio State based on what I have seen over these last 2 games. After what we've seen, after how dominant they've been, after how efficient and explosive the offense has been, how stingy the defense has been, they are playing on a completely different level with a completely different sense of urgency than we've seen. Texas hasn't looked that great. Struggled against Georgia in the SEC championship. 24 points to Clemson, got torched in the secondary, and probably, if we're all being honest, should have lost to Arizona State. This game probably should be Ohio State and Arizona State. I don't have a lot of faith in the Longhorns right now to come in here and win this game. I just don't. I think it's going to be a fun one. I'm hoping for a much closer game than the games we've seen Ohio State in the last few weeks, but ultimately the Buckeyes are going to win this game. And a team that was left for dead after their season finale loss to Michigan, a team that many thought, fire Ryan Day if they were to lose in their first round game to Tennessee, will now be playing for the national championship as the 8th ranked team, as the 8th seed in this first 12-team playoff, 1 win away from maybe truly defying all the odds. So guys, as always, thank you so much for watching us here at the Gridiron Expert on YouTube. Make sure to continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos. Check out everything down in the description below. That includes our website, thegridironexpert.com, home to those expert picks, home to that holiday special, and tons of exclusive college football content for you year-round. The link for that, again, down in the description below. And once again, as always, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time right here on the Gridiron Expert.
Yeah.